ice baths are literally terrible for you, and that's obviously, it depends on the context, but in general, if you're an athlete or if you go to the gym, like let's say 5 or 6 times a week, do not, for this, like, just please don't do ice baths unless you need that mental capacity to like overcome something, or you need to do something you hate. But in terms of like the whole physiological benefits, it kind of, I'll tell you what they do. They reduce inflammation and soreness, and they also, like, obviously wake you up quite a lot. So now you need to know exactly what they don't do, and that they don't increase recovery. In fact, they do quite the opposite. And this is because, if you think, I'm going to a bit of science now, but if you think about it, when you go into an ice bath or you're in a cold, like, I'm sure you've learned about this, but if you're in a cold environment, you're going to vasoconstrict. And that's basically all the veins and arteries in your body are going to travel closer to the organs, and they're going to restrict blood flow from like limbs. So that's why people get like blue hands if they're really cold or if they're in hypothermia, and that's because your body's trying to save your organs. So if that does this, what am I on about? If ice baths do this to you because you're in a cold environment, then that means less blood is going to your muscles. And this is especially bad if you just finish your workout and then you're like, okay, let's go for an ice bath now, because it might reduce soreness for the next day, but you right now have lactic acid in your muscles that needs to be carried away and oxidized. So oxygen needs to go to it, which is carried in blood, and then you're stopping blood flow to those muscles. So it's very counterintuitive. If you actually think about this, like, it literally just like, it increases the time for your muscles to actually recover, but then you don't really feel it because you inhibited that whole process. So for the next day, you might not feel as sore, but your body's still gonna function like that. Instead, you can just go sauna and speed up the recovery. Of course, you're gonna feel really sore the next day, but it doesn't, it helps in the long run, and that's what you should be worried about, I think. So I was gonna go into a whole bunch of science, and something that you need to know about is EPOC, and that is excess post-oxygen consumption. And there's a fast component of recovery, and then there's a slow component of recovery. So during the fast component, it's recovering from lactic acid. So that's when there's two things that fast recover, like the fast, like, short window after exercise. There's two things that happen. There's oxymyoglobin links restored, and that's basically like carrying oxygen, and lactic acid is flushed out. So if you go to an ice bath straight away after a workout, that is flipping stupid. Like, you're gonna increase like how long it takes for you to recover by days. And I don't want to just hate on ice baths, because there are some benefits like that are quite substantial for a lot of people. So the first one is that it wakes you up, obviously, and the second one, the big one, the main reason why people advocate for it is because it regulates dopamine. And that's basically, in the last video I talked about like how different types of like short form content, texting, all that affects your dopamine. But what it does, you get what I mean if you watch the last video, but what it does, it lowers that dopamine threshold, so you actually get motivated a bit easier. And the other thing that it trains is acclimatization and redistribution of blood flow, because your body still is trying to combat the fact that it's in the cold, so it does have to force a bit of blood into your limbs. So what I'd recommend is that if you want to enhance recovery, then you do need to do basically the opposite. You need to do sauna, and that still has the same benefit of acclimatization and redistribution of blood flow. But if you're new to training and you genuinely like the soreness you hate, like, for me, I enjoyed it, but if you genuinely hate that soreness, then there's might be an argument. Like, if that soreness prevents you from going to the gym again or doing this activity again, then sure, go take an ice bath. But keep in mind that it will reduce recovery. I hope that helps you. this is just a bunch of bro science that I compiled from actual like research. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. See you in a bit, bro.